Okay, so some people's attention doesn't last very long, so let's see how quick I can do this. Adam and Eve were told in the beginning, or they were just told, and Adam and Eve is just representation of people, men and women. Hey, I've made all these plants and trees and stuff, and they can all make food. Many of them can make food for you, and you can eat of any of the tree that you like, and enjoy that. And if you eat one, there's seeds inside of it, just that one, to just make tens or hundreds or thousands of, so you have all the abundance that you could possibly need. Everything you need on earth you could use to make the most perfect heaven. All you have to do is just work together, keep each other free, don't make each other pay for the gift of living, or the things, or anything that you need to live, or don't make each other pay. And then just work together and make the most perfect heaven you can. Don't force yourself or your rules on other people, and just make heaven. Don't do the tree of death, because then you'll be making an economic system, and instead of living in heaven, you'll be living in an economic system, and you'll be living in slavery. And don't do that. Don't eat from the tree of death. Well, they did it anyways. And so what is the tree of death? Well, people call it the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that is that, you might feel like it's good, but it's evil. And what is that? It's, because in that day ye shall surely die, right? In that day ye shall surely die. And people will say they didn't die, but they did. They did die the day that they partook of the tree of death. So if you cut down a tree and you kill it, you make a log. Now, if you emulsify that log, you grind it up, you make a monster mash out of it, a graveyard smash. You make a monster mash out of it, and then you start force your self and your rules on other people. Then that log comes from the tree of death. Right. And when they did that, they created rules for other people, forced themselves onto other people. They created a government. They created a government for what? For their nation. Right? And then, so that what happens is, they created for themselves a damnation. Right? See, when Eve decided she was going to partake of that fruit, she started to feel sick. And so then you have Eve got ill, right? Evil. And all you have to do is look, see past the veil, look beyond the veil. So what did that government damnation do that caused them to die on that very day? Well, the government seen the tree of death, and they started putting people's name in all capital letters. Well, what happens when you kill somebody as part of the law? They call that, they say that's capital punishment. And so that's why your name is written in all capital letters, because everybody's being punished for choosing the tree of death rather than the tree of evil. Now, it's not just because of Adam and Eve. People could have changed their mind all the time and decided to free themselves and their children. But they didn't. They just kept going for this idea of the government spelling their name in all capital letters. And then they often want you to sign your name on the line. Why do they use a line? It's a flat line. It shows that you're dead. There's no life there. It's just flat. right? And so they want you to say, yep, this is my flat line. I'll sign my name right there, showing that I'm dead. And then they judge you according to the law. And they do that with black magic. One of these, can be a wand if you want. If you use it for law and government, this becomes a wand for black magic. So you have people wearing black robes, and they judge the law. And then you have, and that would be the judicial branch, right? Because it comes from Jewish law. Now, in the law, you die, then you have the scribes, the people that authored the law, the legislative branch. See, the tree of death has three branches. The judicial, the legislative, and the executive. So the legislative branch writes the law, right? Ink. So you can do I-N-K or I-N-C is a spell. Now, this is for C, is for corporation, right? Corpse is a product of death. Writing with ink, ink was originally made from iron sulfate. Again, they wrote it in a way that was a black magic spell, which is iron sulfate. Okay, but it was a spell, iron sulfate, or iron sulfate. So that's what they do when they're writing the law. They're trying to steal your soul. Matter of fact, that's why they take the prints of a baby's foot when they're born, because they want the Prince of Peace, and they want to steal your soul. And so, so you have the judicial, which uses black robes. You have the legislative, which uses black ink, and then you have the executive, or the enforcement of the law, and they use black powder, right, for their guns to force people to obey. And so, what do you get when you put all those? You have robes, ink, and powder. Or, you could, anyways. And so, that's the law. It's death. That's why it's written. If you try and keep the law, it will condemn you anyways. But you die to the law so that you can live for God. In other words, you step away from the law. The law is not. Okay, so then here's another thing. Now, so when you cut down a tree to make that monster mash, now remember when the law was first introduced, the law of Moses, not the law of God, it was the law of Moses. Okay? When the law was first introduced, it was introduced with 2 stone tablets in the shape of tombstones, right? 2 stone tablets. Tombstones. Why 2? Adam and Eve. They partook of the fruit of the tree of death. So here's the tree of death. Okay. Now, what else happens during the fall, though? That's when people go hunt. Now, what hangs from the trees during hunting season? Well, it certainly isn't the fruit of the tree of life. It's the tree of death, and it tastes good and evil to some folks. And again, there's 3 branches on that tree, and they hang them. They hang the animals on the tree, and they let them blood out. It's blood sacrifice. It's animal sacrifice. And you notice that looks like a cross, doesn't it? That's because it's a brainwashington deceivers. It's a death cult. It's about dying on a cross, death by crucifixion, divide and conquer, dollars and cents, divide country, deceive the citizens. Right? So the day they took of the fruit of the tree of, the day they ate from the tree of death, not the fruit, the day they ate from the tree of death, they died according to the law. And the law put their name in all capital letters and had people sign on a flat line. Then they ate animals. They killed animals, and hung them in trees, and hung them upside down to make them so that becomes the food of the tree of death. And in that day ye shall surely die. Instead of becoming nourishing food of love and living, it becomes a diet. And that's eating from the tree of death. And that's evil damnation. Right? You don't do that. It's the tree of life. That's the way to go. Right? Because it's about living love. My living word doesn't come from the pages or the paper of a dead tree. They turn dead trees into paper. Right? And then, there's a lot further we can go with that. But when they ask you to be, when they do what they can to cause harm to your soul, they will even cause injury by putting you in jury to judge other people. Don't let that happen. Never let those things happen. Or if you do, you automatically say, we're not going to judge these people. Just don't do it. You have to step away from the tree of death. You have to not partake of the fruit of the tree of death. Don't do it.